What is up, Flowmies? It's time for another edition of the ITF Flowcast. So this week we're going to talk with Jack Craggs. He is the owner of Cragg's Window Cleaning out of Traverse City in Michigan. He's got a great story. He's actually a pretty relatively new business owner. He's only been in business about 2.5 years, but he's got several years of window cleaning experience. And the reason why I want to talk with him is because he's a really nice example of how to grow the right way. So he's going to talk a little bit about his origins in window clean, how the transition to go from employee to employer, how that went, some of the things that he learned along the way, and also some of the things that are helping him to reach his goals now. So I think he's a really nice example of sticking to the fundamentals, sticking to what works, and allowing his business to grow at its own organic pace. So I think you're going to really enjoy the interview. So let's go ahead and listen in. What up, Flowmies? It's time for another edition of the ITF Flowcast. We are so happy to have Jack Craggs with us. How you doing, Jack?
Doing good, Gabe. Doing good. Thanks for having me.
Awesome, man. Well, you are out of Michigan. It is Traverse City. Is that how you say it?
Traverse City.
Traverse
Yep,
City.
Northern Michigan.
Awesome. So you are a window cleaner. I think you had mentioned you've been in business for just about 2.5 years as far as your own company, right?
Yep. I started in 2021.
Okay. And how long have you been a window cleaner as a tech working for someone?
Well, it's just over 10 years now. So
Okay.
first year in the industry was in 2013.
Very nice. Well, I mentioned before we started the interview, I'm super jealous of your shop there, man. I would love to have that much space. That's my next goal is to buy a nice warehouse and a piece of land, and my wife can be happy. I'll take all my
Yeah.
window cleaning equipment out of our out of our yard and have something dedicated. So you're already way ahead of me on that department. So that's pretty awesome.
Well, thanks. I mean, as window cleaners, we all like tools, and I need somewhere to put them. So
That's
when it
right.
comes to being efficient in the field, I like to have the proper equipment. And this place we lease, it's been a blessing to have. And with this business that I started, I want to scale it, and so I wanted to have room for growth. And I was working out of a house previously, and so I had a little residential less than 1,000 square foot house with a detached garage, and it was actually in the closer to our downtown area of Traverse City. So it's
Okay.
really good centrally located. That's where I started. So it was good popping up on Google Maps because all of a sudden, boom, I'm there, even though I'm just in the dinky little house. But it's
Nice.
on a busy road by schools, and it's like the second I got more than one car going in and out of the driveway, it just was a mess. And so
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, I already knew I wanted to get into something bigger, and so it's just a matter of time.
Well,
But
I just had to let my techs take the trucks home because I mean I just didn't have any more room here at the house. So I
that
just
makes
like you
a lot
just
of
take
sense.
it home. That's your vehicle now because I didn't. Now I will tell you. So those are snowplow. Uh,
Yeah. Yep.
so that is one thing I will not have in Tucson, Arizona. There's no need for that. Now,
Not
if you
moving
had some
much
type
out
of
there.
some type of cactus lifting device, we might be able to use that out here. But no, no snow plows out here. Well, so
Yeah, that
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say it. Different ball game for sure, and it's been new for us. But being able to store the equipment inside
Yeah,
has been great for just the longevity of it and
nice.
protecting our investment. So it's nice. It's nice to be able to come in from a gnarly blizzard and be able to wash off the trucks and like have a safe environment to
Right.
do it in. So
Yeah.
it's been
I can't even imagine, man. I can't even imagine.
good.
So tell me, how did you get into window cleaning? Was this something that you fell into, or is it something that you kind of were thoughtful about as far as applying for it?
Sort of. I mean, honestly, I would never say I grew up thinking I was gonna be a window cleaner by any means.
Yeah.
But yeah, in 2013, I was kind of fresh. I was in college, and so a couple of years out of high school, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. So I was jumping around a few different jobs, and previously I'd actually been working. Went from a pizzeria to Gordon Food Service, and being freezer stocking was not my favorite. We're in a park in the middle of the summer just to hang out in the freezer all day was a little,
Right, right.
but no, I was actually looking through some job listings and came across a window cleaning opportunity and jumped in with the company, and oddly enough, really started to enjoy it. Just being in that outdoor environment, being on a team, and kind of like the show, creating, developing that flow and that rhythm to your work. And it's like, pop your earbuds in, podcasts or just music or whatever you want in your ears, and it's like you can kind of zone out and just you almost develop a passion for it over time, I would say. And that's kind
Yeah.
of I've still hung around the same
Well,
industry, because it really just kind of ignited from there.
yeah, I always say, I tell my guys, you're either an employee or you're a window cleaner. You know, anybody can learn to clean windows, but when you, like you said, when you develop kind of a passion for the craft of it, which sounds weird to say if you're not a window cleaner, someone who's just, like a passion for window cleaning, really, but it is an art in so many ways, and to be able to do what you do and make it look so nice quickly and with good quality, that's hard to do, and that's very, few people can do that. So like you say, you were a window cleaner, and that's what you became. So that window cleaners have a natural transition to owning their own company, because that's the most important part, is
Mhm.
having that determination to do a good job, and then to do it fast enough where your profits are coming in.
Yeah, and the profits and all of that. I mean, when you start deep diving into numbers and stuff, that's a whole nother ball game too. As later when you get into that business game from actually being a technician in the field. But yeah, so in 2013, kind of got my feet wet. And actually, funny story is the first day I started, um, so the company I was with, my cousin actually was their salesman. And so he was there, and he had actually had a brand new set of tools, and he never used them because he was out doing sales. So they gave me this new set of tools, brand new belt, everything. And first day on the job, being in northern Michigan, it was actually in the winter time. And so we go out to our downtown district, and step on one slab of ice and just fall on my butt, break
Oh,
like the bucket I was carrying on my
oh
belt, and like it
no.
was just like a disaster for a start. And then I think literally a couple days later, they ended up putting me up on a 32-foot ladder doing interior
Oh
dustings.
my goodness.
It was an interesting start to things, but the pace picked up from there, that's for sure.
So how long would you say it took from when you started to when you felt like, hey, I am a capable window cleaner?
Honestly, I'd say probably like 2 years. It really just like a couple years just to kind of learn the clientele,
Mhm.
learn the job itself, get comfortable with ladders, get comfortable with just developing, comfort with all the tools and what to use, where to use it, when to use it, all of that. So I felt like I did take a little bit longer though. Like it was slow to start for me. Like because like there were quotas and stuff for the days, and it's like I'd find myself working by myself till like the dark time in the evening when it was like fall time, because like I'd be out doing route, and it's like I have an eye for detail, and so it's like it's so hard for me to just blast through work and
Yeah.
see like a single drip somewhere and be like, oh, like I can't do that. So like it would be the quality, and so like the speed came later, and so I was just so focused on that. But uh yeah, but a few years into it, honestly, is really all it took. I think probably 6 months would I was already learning. I mean, they say they were like at the time I was expected to be ready in like a month, basically, like go out on your own, do all the work. And some guys I'd even push for like 2 weeks, and boom, you're in the field kind of thing. And so it was a little slower for me, but I got it. And then just being a part of like a two-man crew really pick things up and starting to get comfortable with my coworkers. And then later on in my career, I actually progressed into being the training manager. So then that was a different ballgame, because then I was able to kind of work with people from a strength level to
Yeah.
teach them like, hey, you have to develop that flow with your tool belt, and you have to be comfortable. Like there's so many people that be just clunky and like throwing, like holding onto a mop and a squeegee, and like, what do I do now? Like, how do I grab my towel? It's like, use your belt. Like, it's just the basic things. And then the height thing with the ladders, that actually wasn't bad for me. It was just repetition, and then I really enjoyed it. I actually, and the whole like exercise part of it. Like I was a heavy set guy at the time actually. And so I was going through a phase where I was trying to cut some weight, and like I was told like by a couple of the guys that are like, "Oh yeah, first year you're going to lose like 50 pounds." Well, when you're eating Taco Bell after every stops, you don't lose anything. So
That's it, man. It lends itself to a fast food lifestyle. So any gains you make from having a physical job, if you're not careful, they're gone in the evening. You finish the job and you grab fast food, and then you just used up all the calorie savings that you just had. Right.
totally,
Very
totally.
true. Yeah.
It's yeah.
So tell me, when you lost the weight, what did it take to finally get there? Because like you just mentioned, you were eating fast food. So did you view that as something that was going to help your ability as a window cleaner? Was it all health, or what was the motive to finally make the changes to lose the weight?
It was just self-care in general. I needed to actually be conscious of like what I was eating, and like instead of going home in the evenings and grabbing like, takeout Chinese, like, or like Little Caesars or something, and just like having zero restrictions on my diet. It was just to implement small things one at a time. And like yeah, and as far as my work, like I felt like I would like I would eat lunch and then I would just be done. Like no energy, and it would just like hit a wall, and your coworker would be like, "You're just like, are you all right? Like you just were done, aren't you? You're worthless at this point." And it's like, well, you don't like that. It doesn't feel good. And
No,
so
it doesn't
that's
feel
just,
good.
bad habits, and
Yeah.
maybe too big of portions for lunches too. It's like, downsize. What I actually ended up doing was I did a bunch of kind of like small snacks.
Mm.
So like instead of me doing like, hey, a huge lunch, it was like, all right, I'd make sure I'd eat like something in the morning for breakfast that was decently healthy, just to get food in my stomach. And then maybe, 10:30 rolls around, have a light snack. And one thing I actually did was sugar snap peas.
Yeah.
I was like, I just need to do veggies. And I found that I really like sugar snap peas. And I was like, so I put that in my lunchbox all the time. And so it'd be like, all right, if I do a sandwich, I have carbs and stuff, but then I need a veggie. And it's like,
Yeah.
so don't do too much, and just kind of try to little by little pick up your diet. And then I was like, no fast food. So I cut that out. And it was a lot easier when you pack.
Honestly, if you have the willpower just to cut out fast food, if you're struggling with weight, you're going to lose a ton of weight like right at the beginning. Even if you don't eat necessarily super healthy at home or whatever, just cut out fast food. If you got to buy something, go to the grocery store and buy something, that is more of an actual food than just, burgers and wings or whatever. Yeah, I found that because I got heavy set after we had our daughter, and I'm small, kind of a small frame guy, and I got up to 220, which for me was really big, and that's what it was, man. It was just fast food. I was just down in everything. And I think you get tired, because I'm working, I'm owning a business, I'm now a father, I'm not getting any sleep, I'm tired, and it's just kind of like, oh, this is my treat, right? I'm going to treat myself for working hard and dealing with this. I'm going to eat this, and it just piles on you. So that's all I cut out fast food, and I stopped drinking soda, and I dropped like 40 pounds within 2 months. I mean, it was like crazy. I could not believe how fast. Now the rest of it took a lot longer because once I got the initial weight off, then it was actual. You got to get the exercise. Now you got to really monitor what you eat, count your calories, that type of thing. But yeah, I'm glad you brought it up because I just feel like in our industry, there's a lot of guys who don't really think about self-care, and they don't view it as really important, especially someone as young as you. A lot of the young guys, they feel like they're invincible and like nothing's going to happen. Now I'm 48, and I've got friends, they're having heart attacks now, They're having issues with their knees and with their shoulders, and they just don't have the ability to do the work physically anymore. And I recognize I've got a limited number of days on mine, but for you, how old are you?
I'm 31.
31. So already to recognize how important self-care is, if you keep that up for the next, 15 years, you're setting yourself up to be really healthy as you're getting into now where, wherever your business is going to be. If this is what you continue to do, you're going to be in good shape to have both a vibrant company and good health. And that unfortunately is very rare in our business. Usually our window cleaners pay for the success of their business with their physical, well-being. And you either have one or the other. Either you're clawing your way just to survive and have good health, or you have a successful business but you can't do anything. So I'm glad that you're taking care of yourself already and view that as a priority, because that's going to pay off later for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely something I've made a priority, and like basically when I hit that wall, it was like, all right, that's it. I'm not getting any worse. It's from here on out. It's, put your head down and little by little get there. But that helped a lot too, just the energy level. Like I actually felt like, I mean, I knew I became a better worker for sure. Like I was cruising up ladders all of a sudden, like, and like obviously OSHA and all of that plays into there, but getting on rooftops and stuff, it's like everything just felt more natural and it just felt more comfortable. And it's like, when it was someone was on a job, I'd go and grab the 40-foot ladder first, or like I'd go, like I felt good. Although I will say I lost some weight. You don't have a lot to push that thing around, but yeah, just the energy level was there. I felt better about myself as an individual. I felt more motivated. Like self-motivation's like as a business owner now trying to find employees, self-motivation is very valuable to me.
Very, very valuable.
And also me as a business owner and anyone else out there, it's like, when you wake up in the morning, what's going to happen is based on what you put into that day.
There's nobody telling you what to do or what you're going to do. You have to do it.
Yeah.
Kevin Hargis always says, eat your frogs. That's the book that he really loves. And it's just do the important things that you don't want to do first in the morning. Eat your frogs first. And then the rest of the day is easy because it's stuff that's not so bad. You get the worst thing out of the way. So I always think about that. I always try to eat my frogs in the morning. It's hard. It's hard sometimes. Sometimes you don't feel like eating frogs. But
no. But like with health too, even like going to bed at a certain time, like when I go to bed at 10:30 at night, I'm a lot better for the next day than back when I used to stay up till 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. It's like those little things make a difference. It's a little bit easier to get out of bed and not miss your alarm clock when you're actually taking care of yourself. So that has played a big role. And I mean, part of that might have just been what I needed to motivate myself and kind of jumpstart where I want to go in life, what I want to do. And like, it's been good while, being younger years where I could go out and I mean, I like to party. I like to go out with my friends and have drinks. And it's like, at one point I hit and it was like, where's the payoff? What, like it's great. I can go out with friends, but I can drink any night, where's my future? And so with that, it's like, okay, career wise, like where do I see myself? And actually, I started talking with a coworker and I started getting the business ideas in my mind. And I actually had chatted with a coworker about starting a business together and as a partnership. And I kind of thought that over a bit and threw out some, name ideas. And we're like, oh yeah, we could totally, be successful and make this happen. A couple of texts in the field, just feeling feisty and feeling like we could go after the work kind of thing. And then I started actually like really kind of reflecting and thinking, what is it going to take to get to there? And so I guess I'd say kind of that middle time of working for another company, as I developed into the training manager, I started ordering our tools, developing systems, and like, the passion for window cleaning just kind of kept ascending from there. And so it was like finding systems that work that like I would start to develop. And, like I would, my partner at the time and I would build like water fed systems in vans. And like it's like all the tool kind of stuff. And I'd order new things to see if it made us more efficient. It's like going to jobs and trying it a different way. And maybe we saved a half an hour and like that kind of thing, and making those efficiencies become, strengths for our team. And then, the more and more that I wanted, the more I realized that I was capped. And so like, even if you can offer a lot to a team and they value you, if you're not in the right place and there isn't room for growth there, or at least what you're willing to accept, then you have to consider your options. And so with that, I actually decided that my next step was going to be to I had a non-compete. And so in 2019, I actually left that company and I went and worked for a construction company. I want to try something different. My dad was actually ran a business that my grandpa owned, and it was called Craig's Cabinets and Countertops. And so like I was in the shop and like I was always around that stuff, but my dad actually passed away in 2000. And so I never really got like when I was older, I never got that experience, but I always wanted to get into that. And now my mother's actually remarried and I have a fantastic stepfather who's actually probably given me a lot more patience than I was born with, because he's a great man. But yeah, just getting into construction and, hand tools and there's something to be said about hammering a nail into wood and just the pride that comes from it. I mean, window cleaning, there's pride too, and so it's just a different thing. But so I worked my non-compete off there for a year and learned a lot of new skills, and kind of it was really humbling, I'll put it that way, really humbling to go from like the top of your game to you're a greenhorn. And like, I got people showing me how to use a grinder and like and like certain tools. And I'm like, wow, I just need to like soak this up. And I think I kind of started to spark a desire for like education and gaining knowledge in that too.
I imagine that situation benefited you as a businessman, give you a little bit of humility, and like you said, the understanding of how education can help you, and I don't mean necessarily formal education like going to a college or anything, but just being willing to learn something that either you don't know or maybe you don't know very well, and kind of refine that. So yeah, it sounds like a neat example. Can I ask how long was your non-compete for?
It was a 1 year. It was a one year non-compete, within 20 miles of the business's location. And so I worked for a year. Actually, I ended up working I told them, I was like, I'll give you exactly 12 months. I can guarantee you, I can't guarantee you more than that. And in that process, I'd actually kind of been building my business plan and getting clients on the side when I was doing construction, that by the following spring, I had already reached the point where it was like, if this is what you want to do, you have to go after it, kind of thing. And so I worked until I think I was like, yeah, a couple months short. Basically, I left before the summer. It was springtime. I had my books as just like a side gig were already filling up, and I was like, wow, there's a lot of opportunity here sooner than I had thought it would be. So, yeah.
Wow. So had you let your former boss know that you had an idea of starting your own business? Like, did he know that?
So no, honestly, because I wasn't really completely for sure, to be honest with you. I was like, I knew I wanted to start a business. The construction, yes, when I came onto that job, I let him know I wanted to start a business. Previously, I think it was there and I knew I wanted to eventually. I just didn't know how soon it was going to happen. And so, and I talked to them just that I needed a different environment and that I was ready to move on from that job. And so, because I knew that I was capped there, whether I want to be a window cleaner or something else, that company is not the company I was gonna be with long term.
Right.
And so I left there to move to a different different field of work. And in that time I was weighing out, am I ready for this? Can I make this happen? And so really I was basically, throwing around business name ideas and getting, kind of a game plan of how I want to approach it. And in that time I was picking up side jobs for, I like I like hunting, and so I actually bought a bow with some of the money that, like, my first compound bow that
Nice.
is from a client that my wife, then she was my girlfriend, but it was her client that she shared my info with, and so it's like I started to get some bigger jobs and stuff, and all of a sudden things just kind of started taking off.
So did your boss ever contact you once he found out you had your own window cleaning business?
Um, Not directly. I've heard some kind of rumblings in the background. And it was actually my old boss was two female owners.
Oh, okay.
And so great people. Honestly, they treated me fantastic. It was a great place to work at, and there's no bad blood there at all. It just wasn't the right fit for me long term. And so no, that I actually I'd be happy to sit down and talk with them anytime. Like I really I think competition's healthy. I think that there's a reason there can be four gas stations at an intersection and everyone can make money. It's
Yeah.
it's healthy, and it makes us all better, because at the end of the day, if we're not pushing each other to get better, then why continue to offer a service and be in business if you can't offer the best service possible to your clients? And so that's what competition does. It helps you, you know, keep you on your toes.
So I'm asking because I'm an employer, and I've had some of my employees go off and start their own business.
Mhm.
I'm very open about it. I don't have any problems. I encourage my workers, if that is a goal they have, to please just talk with me about it. I'm not precious. Obviously, we do sign something saying they can't go after
Yeah.
my clients. But if they want to learn the ownership side, I'm pretty open with my teaching of that. But I know some aren't, and I'm always curious about the dynamics of that in a small, because you have a small town, right? So
Mhm.
it's not
Everyone knows everyone.
it's not like a big metro town where you may run into them maybe once a year. You see the van go by or whatever.
Yeah.
Smaller town, I imagine you do run into, or at least interact with people who interact with them.
Yeah.
But you guys have been able to keep it on civil terms and everything.
Yeah, honestly, I have friends who still work over there, and we pass vehicles all the time. I mean, you can't not see each other in this area. You're right. It's a small town, and absolutely. As far as like what you're talking about with being a business owner and listening to employees who are considering, leaving to start their own, I don't think we never really had that conversation. It was more of a kind of like, you know, um, I think there's more concern in the background to really dive into any of that really and be open. And I just don't know if that was really something on their minds anyway. They were just more concerned, I think, about losing quality people than, I guess, mentoring anyone in a form or fashion to kind of I guess maintain like a good relationship past that. But yeah.
So yeah, and I think that's important. I think it's you want to have respect for the people you work for. You also want to have good relations. I mean, I try to have good relations with competitors. Obviously, there's sometimes that's not possible. Um,
Right, right.
I think anytime you can, especially when you're former, and it's your former employer. I guess the thing is, for me, as long as people are open about it and talk with me, I'm cool. But if I
Mm,
feel like there's some kind of sneakiness, like I had one guy who was working for me, who would, like, when he do the bid and do the job, he would drop, "Hey, if you want me to do it on the side, this is how much I would do it for." And that kind of sneakiness I don't like. And so just trying to balance that, hey, I want to be a legitimate business owner,
Mhm.
Let me do my business. I'm going to be respectful of yours, but it's all in the end, it's business, right? So,
Mhm.
you know, people call people for various reasons, and their customer may call you. So just trying to find that balance, I think, is always fascinating, and making it work. Because I mean, you know, if a business owner is reasonable, you can always find a solution. You can always work it out. But
Mhm.
sometimes not not all business owners are reasonable. So
Yeah, there's a blend of them, good and bad for sure. Yeah, when it comes to that, honestly, I made it a focus to be respectful about all of it, and I didn't once go after, like, I actually stayed away from certain people when I first started out because I knew they were already um clients of that company that I used to work for, my former employer.
mhm.
And so yeah, I took my non-compete extremely seriously. And so with that said, it's like I want to make, new clients all organically. Um Honestly, I'd say my biggest jump start, once I went out on my own, is that my wife, she's a mobile hairstylist,
Oh,
and she, at the time, she was working at a salon, but her contacts, like, we share a lot of similar clientele. And so it was a lot of situations. I call her my number one marketing team because when we were starting out, it's like I was working, and I was doing the construction, and so, like, when I was window cleaning on the side, I didn't have time to really do any sort of marketing myself. And so she kind of got me jump started with a small little clientele list, and then I had some other contacts. But you get a couple of people, and they give you a couple of referrals, and then
yeah.
things start going. I mean, all she had to say, she'd be cutting their hair, and they'd be like, at the time, what does your boyfriend do? And she'll be like, well, he cleans windows. And they're like, well, my windows are dirty. What's his information? And before you know it, it's just job, job, job. And so that really helped me jumpstart. And I got a little address book and started writing down addresses and contact information right away, and started scheduling people in, and then things just started kind of moving from there. And I started to realize that with what she was helping me with and what I was doing, I knew I could handle the work. And then um, basically it was like, now things are ready to take off. So um, in 2021, I decided to just go after it. So I started on, getting a logo made by a local artist around here. I My first startup was actually getting a trailer because I was living in the house, and so I was like, I need a shop, and I need somewhere safe to store my tools. And I'm probably going to have to store this in the winter time in northern Michigan, so I'm going to have to do indoor storage somewhere. So
Right.
I got the trailer so I could put all my tools in there and protect everything. And so it was my mobile shop kind of, and I knew that I would need something large eventually to do commercial work, because my thing was, like, I had been doing window cleaning for so long that I knew what I was capable of. So I didn't want to, like, turn down work, which is kind of dangerous when you're starting
Mhm.
out because you have
Yeah.
to know what to take and what not to. And
Yes.
so I definitely put myself in some situations where, work until 9 o'clock at night to finish a job. I mean, I cleaned some skylights in the dark and they look good, though. I will say that. But, and the clients, I'm like, I'd never want to actually, have a client have to deal with that ordinarily. But starting out and grinding and just kind of doing whatever it took to finish the jobs, um, I would do. But so I had that trailer and I wanted to build a large scale water fed system in it. And so that was my game plan long term. So I went and I actually drove over to Indiana and picked that trailer up and came back because it was the only one I could find that was in the green color that I wanted for my company.
Nice.
And it was a 14-foot enclosed trailer. And so it all started in there. I just little by little started putting in orders, on all over the place. Detroit Sponge locally, WCR, Tucker. I just started getting all my pieces together. And um, started getting ready to kind of outfit myself. And I got earlier that year, in January, I had known I was going in that direction. So I went and bought myself a GMC Sierra, and because I knew I needed a truck. I needed something that I could put a ladder rack on, haul ladders with. And I mean, starting out, I hauled the ladder out of the bed, like I'm sure a lot of people have.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
seen sedans moving around with ladders and stuff. So whatever you have to do to get out there, whatever it takes, honestly, people, especially when you're small, like people understand. Like even if you show up and you're maybe, a little embarrassed by your setup, if they want to support you, they
Oh,
appreciate it.
I find you can get a lot of goodwill just by being honest with your customers. I think people shoot themselves in the foot when they try to be something they're not. When they come in and try to act like, oh yeah, I'm this, I'm that, and
Mhm.
then when as they say, the proof is in the pudding, right? You start working, and then they start realizing, oh, this person doesn't know as much as they say they do. So rather than just worry about that, like you said, just hey, I'm a new business. I've been doing windows for this long, so I'm going to do a great job for you. But I am a new businessman. I'm still kind of picking up, learning this. I'm learning the ropes here and there. But you give me a chance, I'm going to do you a great job. I'm going to give you a good price. You're going to want to call me back. And if you're straightforward, I always tell people is customers love to be part of your origin story.
They
They
do.
love to tell other people, oh, I knew Jack back when he just had one truck and that's all he had, and he had this ladder that was tied to his roof or whatever. They just love to tell that story. So if you just own it and buy into it, that gives you a lot of goodwill. And I know for me, I didn't have experience when I started my business. I had, 2 hours of training is all I had. So I won the goodwill of not being a very good window cleaner at the start, you know, but I had great customer service. I really cared about the people I was working for, and that carried me, and again, I was honest. I told them right off, I'm still learning how to do windows, but if you give me a chance, I'm going to do a good job for you. And yeah, if you can just be honest with people, be straightforward, man, it means a lot, and then like you said, they start telling other people about you, and they start spreading because they want to help you get off the ground on like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, being in like tight knit neighborhoods too and stuff, it's just, we have great people around our community. And it means a lot when you leave an impression on them. And it's like maybe you go the extra mile to do something. And that's something too when you're starting out, is like, later on you're gonna, fine tune your niche and focus on the priorities that you need to. But when you start out, it's like you might do a few things other than window cleaning, and that's okay. If you got to fill your books or fill your time just to make money, um, I mean, that was something where like some of the first clients that I got, they'd be like, hey, I actually had a lady ask me if I took a dish off of her roof.
Oh
And
no.
it was like, I've been wanting to get rid of this forever. And she's like, you have a ladder, and like I just finished the house, and so like I quoted it for her, and she was like, would you be willing to take that off? And I was like, I mean, I have an impact driver. I could, grab some caulk or some silicone and fill the holes. And I mean,
Yeah.
like, yeah, I can do that. And so I put a price on it, and she was like, yeah, sure, fine. Let's, take care of it. Yes, thank you so much, kind of thing. And so like I did that, and it increased my ticket. I made
Yeah.
more money that day, and honestly, that was kind of one of the first times where like back to back days, I was like, I just made what I made an entire week
Yes, exactly.
in 2 days. Actually, I did. That was a good week, a really good week that I made in 2 days, and I was super excited about that because I was like, when you think about life, time is extremely valuable, and
Yeah.
so it's like, working. It for me. I was like, wow, I can do this in this amount of time. Now, when you're smaller, you don't have to deal with a lot of the overhead stuff, and so when you get to that game, things get a little different. It's not quite as easy to be like, oh, this is great, I'm making all this money, but
Yeah.
still, getting started, and with that client, like I said, or like you were saying, with referrals and stuff. Like I got it was a Vista print or something, some business cards, and they got their like little graphics, throw a window on there and your company and your contact information. That lady, or well, a couple of the ladies in that neighborhood had gotten my card after I did work, and they posted me on the Next Door app or site, and that actually got me a bunch of calls and stuff, and like that was fantastic. That's a great group too. That the Next Door community there is like, I mean, Facebook's great, but like Next Door, it's more personal for those people, and they feel a little safer to talk about neighborhoods and stuff. That's the way it's designed. And that was a good little booster too.
Nice. Very cool. So what would you say is your biggest, well, what would you say is, well, I'm gonna guess it was referral back when you started. What is your best way to find new customers now that you could say you're established after 2.5 years,
Mhm.
you've got regular customers. So how do you get them now?
Now I would say it's really focusing on the Google rankings. Now I'd say it's dialing in our search engine optimization. It's making sure that the website, like, make sure people can find you. It's the referrals are great and stuff, and that's what you want. Keep the word going. You want to stay present in your community. You want to be on the like, there's a reason the bigger companies do well. It's because they're everywhere. They're all, they say you have to have so many touches before someone responds to you, kind of thing, as a company. And so it's like, whether someone sees you in the newspaper in like like we actually just sign or sponsored a nonprofit, and it's like they're blowing out our name and stuff, and it's like we like to help that, but like in turn we're actually getting feedback from that, and so it's just a matter of honestly hitting a bunch of different avenues. And I would
Yeah.
say my main focus is Google, getting our reviews up, just having the presence for people to find us when they're looking for us, and to be showing up in those areas that those platforms are using. So that's what I would say. The referrals are kind of the automatic, because all of our quality clients, tend to refer us to their communities, and we see that because we're going back, and I'm sending out more quotes in those areas, and I can tell. But yeah, that would be my response for that.
How many different companies work in your area?
Um, you have, let's see, I would say there's, on the top of my mind, as far as window cleaning companies, there's three other main companies. And, we're working as a team here to become a part of that group too. And so, what I mean with that, I would say there's a couple of there's some pressure washing companies trying to get into the game. There's some other people. There's a lot of owner operator up on the searches, but they've like stopped operating.
Hmm.
Like it's literally like, a guy and a wife, or someone who is operating, and it's like they've been in business for 8 years, and like they're not even like their website won't even like render when you log on, go to
Yeah.
it, and that kind of stuff. So like there's stuff when you search that's there from like historical data, but as far as companies goes, I mean, there's really only like 3, 4 companies really in
Yeah.
the area, and
So
even them you can see who's proactive about really kind of like growing in the area and who's not.
yeah. So I mean, compared to mine, I mean, we have like at least 50 different companies in my area.
I'm
And
sure.
of course, we're very spread out. So we've got Tucson's the main city, but we've got a bunch of suburbs. So we've got Marana, which that's a very high income area. Oro Valley, which also has a mix, but there's a lot of high income in there. And then we've got Vail, we've got Green Valley, Sahuarita. Kind of, we're very spread out. We don't go up, we go out. And it's desert, so it's not like we're not dealing with like hills or valleys or anything.
Yeah.
It's flat. So um which is nice, but then what happens is then now your scheduling becomes a little tricky, because are you going to focus in just on one area and have a limited people you can reach, or are you going to spread it out? But now you're driving, now you're talking about 30 minutes between jobs, which that eats into your profits, especially if you have employees,
Mhm.
because you're paying them on those drives. So yeah, and it gets a little tricky, but there's so many companies here, and that's why I don't worry so much, because like you said, you've got some that they're here 1 year and then they're gone the next. And it's that longevity that we have that's our asset, is that we've not only just that we've been around a while, but we have so much information from that experience that helps us to outlast the ups and downs that some of these other companies, these startups that start and stop so often. um so it's like, sometimes I'll read people and they really panic about, oh, there's these new people coming in, and I mean, yeah, if they're low bidders, they'll probably steal some of our customers here and there. But over time, the successful companies have to have a combination of a good customer service, quality work, and also be, fiscally responsible. In other, be business people, understand how businesses work. Because I can remember a time where I had a ton of work, but I was making way less than I was, when I had less. But it's because I didn't have employees at that time. I didn't have overhead. And I didn't understand the pricing, that when you hire and when you have, equipment that you have to maintain, and you expand your business area, all of that means you have to raise your prices to compensate for that. And I didn't understand that. I thought I could do the same thing using the same pricing model, and it got me into trouble. So that's all lessons that, I think if you're a newer company, you're going to run into, and you're going to struggle. So it's only those ones that have the determination and really want it. They're the ones who are going to make it. So, so what's
Pricing's tricky.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. What are you saying?
Pricing's tricky. It raises a topic where, I mean, you see on forums or on, pages and stuff on social media where everyone's always asking about the pricing, and it's a big topic, and it's something that, can break you or it can make you, kind of thing. But you also have to know that there's boundaries with it.
Yeah.
And like you have to stay in your market, but and it's tough if you have no prior experience in the industry and don't really know what the going rate is, then yeah, it's going to be a lot more difficult. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I feel bad because I never answer those questions. And if it's in a Facebook group, I don't worry so much, because I know someone will give them an answer. I just ignore it. But a lot of times I'll get people who I like, I want them to succeed. And they're asking, well, here's some pictures. What would you price it at? And I hate answering, because one, like you mentioned, markets are all different.
Mhm.
So just because I would price that in my market, doesn't mean that it's for them, right? And then the other thing too is they have a different situation. So they either have less cost than me or more cost than me. So there's a lot of different factors that I may have to take into consideration that they don't. So they may end up putting a really high bid just based on my bidding, and then they lose the job, because they didn't need to bid that high, because they don't have office staff. They only have one truck. They don't have to pay workers' comp because it's just them. So, and it's like, it's way complicated to just armchair quarterback those types of pricing just based on some pictures. So instead, I really try to help them do the math themselves. I'm like, okay, so this is a job, you've eyeballed it. How long do you think it's going to take you? And how long do you think it's going to, do you have to rent a lift for it? Because how much is the lift going to cost? Because you're going to have to include that in the invoice. Is this going to be something that you're going to have to come to multiple days? Because, I don't know, if it's a construction cleanup, for instance, are there going to be crews working while you're working? I mean, you can only do certain portions at certain times. Also, there's so many things that have to be taken into consideration. And so I opt to try and train them to figure out themselves, as opposed to just saying, this is what I would charge, because that doesn't help them. Because guess what? The next time they get another bid like that, who are they going to be calling? Hey, here's some pictures that tell me how much I should charge. That doesn't do anybody any good. And I also tell people too, look, you're going to get some bids really wrong. And
Yes,
that's just part of your education. We've all done it. It's nice if we could just bid perfectly, but if you're doing, like when I went from the first building, really big building I had, I was so fortunate because the lady was really nice. She asked me to do a bid. It was the biggest building we've ever done. still our biggest project. We do it once a year. And I put the bid in, and the lady came back and she says, "Hey, we got your bid. We really like you. We really like your company. You've got great reviews. We'd really love to use you. Just so you know, your bid is 1/5 of the last guy who came here." And she did not have to tell me that, right? She did not have to tell me that. She just said, "I think you need to rethink about how long it's going to take you to do this building," you know. So that was really kind of her, and certainly we multiplied it by 5, and she accepted the bid. It was lower than what they were paying, but only by maybe $500-600. And they love us. I mean, we come here, this is our 8th year coming, and of course now over time, now we've got the efficiency down, right? That first time we did it, it was like a 6-day project. Now we can get it done in 3.5 days. So, but if it wasn't for her kindness, I could have really eaten it on that job the first time, you know. And so that's just, again, that there's no one who could have done that bid except for me, you know, or a competitor who's not going to tell me what they're bidding. So yeah, you can ask for help if you want, but if someone's just spitting out numbers, like, it's funny when you see those posts and there's like 50 different amounts of what people will say, right? It's like, oh, is that really helping you? You've just got 50 different ways of bidding this. So yeah, a lot of times you just have to kind of understand what you're looking for and then try to shoot the target as best you can, knowing you're going to miss until you start getting more experience, for sure.
It's gonna evolve. I mean, like, honestly, my pricing, we have a system in place that I do, but like, it's continuing to evolve.
Yeah.
And actually we just did our biggest job as a company, and like I said before, I don't like turning down work. So it was a job that we're in a community that's one of our core communities, and I really wanted it. And I did the numbers afterward, and I'm like, we had 32 hours in on this job, and we did not, like, what my standard hourly rate is for our per guy or per technician is not what we made. And I also knew a learning experience that I even had now, which I've said before I wouldn't do, is going down on my price. When I say this is my quote, not to back down. If you're not willing to accept that, then we're not the business for you.
Yeah.
And so with that said, I got involved with the property manager, and she's going to be sending us more work. And she, it's a connection where I was like, you know what? Because they deal with the HOAs. And so it's like, there's budgets and stuff. And so I was like, you know what, I'm going to come down a little bit, let's make this happen. I value this community. I value you as, now a networking connection. And, she said she's going to be sending us work and stuff. And the whole community was absolutely just in love with the work. Like, they were like, this is awesome. But at the end of the day, when I'm looking at the numbers, I wasn't happy. And so with that said, it's a good opportunity.
Yeah.
But it also is another learning experience for me to be like, you know what, doesn't matter the situation, don't step down on your pricing.
Yes.
And be confident. And otherwise, we could have filled those days with residential work that would have accumulated the same amount of money of income.
And here's a hard lesson that I think a lot of business owners take a long time to learn. There is a price for taking those jobs, because, like you said, if you continue to take jobs that are lower, per man hour rate than what you need, you're taking room out of your schedule for the higher profit jobs. Mm-hmm. And we had all the Chipotles in Tucson, which I think it was when I finally lost the account, it was like 12 in town. And I loved it because it was my bread and butter. It was like $1,500 every month I could always count on. It covered our mortgage, it covered our car payment, it covered a couple things. Yeah. So it was great when I was a single owner operator, because I could count on that even when we're slow, even when it was raining, whatever the issue was, I had that check coming in, and that was for these things, right? I had it for I think 12 years. I cleaned for them, and it was all of those. It didn't start off with 12. I think it started with 7, and it grew as they built on. But eventually, they finally were just like, "Look, we're gonna just do window cleaning in house." I had zero notice. They just called me. Oh no, actually, I was at a Chipotle, and the manager came out and said, "Hey, what are you doing here?" And I said, I'm cleaning. It's our time to clean this week." And they're like, "Yeah, we don't use you guys anymore. We're doing it in house." And I was like, the first I've heard of it. And then like I leave, I walk out, and then sure enough, like 5 minutes later, corporate calls me and tells me, "Oh, we're so sorry we didn't tell you. But yeah, we're doing everything in house and we no longer need your services," which was super rude, right? But I was just like, this drop because I had viewed it as my security blanket for so long. I felt like I felt like I was in danger now for some reason. Now that only lasted about an hour because then I kind of came to my senses. I'm like, wait a second. I'm not the same company I was back then when I first got that job, when I really needed that job. I'm an established company now. And now that opens up room in my schedule because it was a weekly account. I would go every single
Yeah,
week for all of those
that's
jobs.
a commitment.
It was a commitment. So now I got all these spots opening up in my schedule for higher profit jobs. And I looked at the end of the year because I think it was in August or September. My business made so much more money from the rest of that year to the previous rest of the year, just from opening up those spots in my schedule to have better paying jobs in there, you know. And that taught me a lesson, just exactly what you said. Just because you have a big check coming to you at the end of the month doesn't mean it's worth the time and energy to get that check, because you might have a bunch of smaller checks in that same amount of period that could be 2 or even 3 times more than that one big check. So you've got to think like a business person, and you've got to look at the whole picture and what's involved and what are the costs of taking on that big job. So that's just something you get by experience and by getting bit. you know. But I think it's a lesson that sometimes people are slow to learn, because it's just kind of a survival instinct. You got to take those jobs when you get it, and it's not always the best thing for you, for sure.
Yeah, it's no, having those reoccurring jobs, like that's almost feels like safety too. Like you're saying when you're starting out. Like we picked up a chain of gas stations, and like I mean we're talking like, yeah, we have a lease here and this is a nice space, but like I'm constantly learning, and I'm like we're there, like we have a small team here, and it's like, last season we had another guy on, and I was hustling to do sales the week before just so the guys had work
Yeah.
the next week, and I actually secured that gas station. And that was awesome because all of a sudden it was a little chunk and it filled up 2 days worth of work. And it's like those accounts can mean a lot when you're starting out. But like you say, as the business matures, you realize that, logically, it's not going to break you, and it may actually provide opportunity.
Yep, exactly. And again, it really depends on what your goals are. Sometimes people, they don't want to grow. They just want to kind of have their income. They know it's steady. They know it's there. So those types of jobs are perfect for them. They don't need to like you said, they don't need to provide for their employees, or get hours for them or whatever.
Yeah.
You don't have to hit, because I think what people don't understand, I didn't. It took me a while to learn too. Your payroll taxes are based on the hours, and what you're paying your employees. So that has nothing to do with how much money you actually can pull in. So if they're working a lot of hours on a low paying job, guess what? That payroll tax is going to hurt you at the
Yeah.
end of each paycheck, because that's money that you should have made on those jobs, but because you settled for those low profit jobs, that takes more out of your profit than what you can even afford sometimes. And I was looking at the numbers, and I'm looking at this payroll tax, and we had a bunch of small accounts, and I would just have these little commercial routes, and I would send my guys on there. And I was looking at the payroll tax I was paying for my commercial route guy, and I was like, I'm already so slim on these commercial routes, and I'm literally wiping out those profits at the end of the week with his payroll tax. And it's like you don't know that until you actually look at the numbers and figure it out. So yeah, we got rid of a lot of our small little $20, $30 storefront jobs, and kept
Yeah.
the ones that are $60 to $80 that are worth the stop. But you don't really know that until you actually take the time to be a business owner. And that's
No,
people
no.
it's hard for them to do that sometimes, to get out of the mindset of being a window cleaner where you're like, I need the work, I need the work, I need the work, to the business owner, which thinks, okay, I need the work, but I need the right work. Right? I need the work that's good for my company, not necessarily for somebody else. Yeah, and that's the maturity of the company for sure.
That's stuff like you're saying too about the employee taxes and stuff. Like, I mean, I'm continuing to learn, and it's like we talked about going from a tech in the field. It's like, I can clean wind. It's like you know what you're doing in the field. That's fine. You can do it every day. It's fine. But when you really start challenging yourself, when you are trying to scale a company or even just start a company, is sit right here, sit at your desk, look at the paperwork, look at the numbers like you're talking about. And that's gonna be your guide to success, is actually dialing in those numbers and seeing where your weaknesses are at, seeing where your strengths are at, seeing where you need to cut back at. We actually are very residential dominant, and I've had a ton of small scale commercial work never even get accepted because I'm not willing to do that work.
Right.
We're not like, I can't compete with the people around here
Oh yeah.
that are, even though there's only a couple companies, I'm not willing to go do a job for 15, $20. It's just,
Yeah.
I can't even get the truck out of the shop and get a guy out of bed to go clean a window and feel like I have my bills paid doing that. And so it's like, you know, we actually have we've just started to, it's kind of like a slow churn of our commercial storefronts that are picking up. And it's only because people are understanding that we value the quality over quantity, and that like the product we're delivering is a little different. We're not trying to pump out the crazy numbers of volume of a bunch of places, but when you get our service, you're going to get a full scale service. And like, we're going to do the full exterior interior. We're not going to force all exteriors on you. We're not going to, the way we approach it is like the price tag might be a little higher, but we're not going to just simply mop and squeegee and boogie on to the next job. We're going to be detailing. We might actually take a minute to talk with the people at the counter and, learn a little insight about their business. I have Cody's our operations manager, and honestly, right now, our team is Cody and I. Like, and Shannon is our administrative assistant in the office, and that's our team. Like, that's what we have, and we're trying to grow, but hiring's been tough, to say the least. So,
Yeah. Well,
but it doesn't.
the economy this year was rough for growth. It really was. I mean, I got hit hard in the beginning of the year when normally we have work and we bank it, during our spring. And I just think between inflation and supply issues, supply costs going up, everyone has just put the brakes on it. I just started getting busy again. And it's funny you mentioned about the commercial. We were in the same boat. I mean, I hated doing commercial bids because I knew I wasn't going to get it, because I was always going to be, we bid this one building, and I bid $800 on it. It was going to be all water fed. It wasn't a hard building, but there was a ton of windows, it was 3-story. And he was just like, okay, we loved your presentation. We loved the process you have and everything. The other company's 500. We have to go with them, and that's just the way it was. I always knew I was going to be significantly higher than the other competitors in my area. This year, we've been closing on those big commercial buildings, and I'm still bidding high. So I don't know exactly what the change is. If maybe those companies have suffered as well, and maybe either they lost employees and can't handle the load, or I don't know. I really don't know. But all of a sudden, without, we haven't done anything different. Like, we haven't targeted, or I haven't pushed or tried to communicate to them more and change their mind. It's just all of a sudden these bids that I would routinely get rejected just started coming in, and I was like, man, okay, well, I guess we need to. I mean, I've been running myself ragged. I've been trying to hire, under the gun, but it was really unexpected. I don't have any answers other than I think it has to have something to do with the economy, that there's been something that's affected it. that to see those changes. But it's a welcome change because I needed the work. So
Yeah.
I'm having
Yeah.
such a bad year. But now I gotta play catch up and get some employees. So
Yeah, it's that's something for me as a business owner. The hiring thing is just a whole new ball game because um I guess there was something I wanted to say that about our previous conversation
oh
there. So
sorry,
you
sorry.
jump a little, but no, it's fine. But I guess talking about the just jobs in general and gaining them when you didn't change your price or maybe it even increased because of different year in the business that you're quoting that at. But what I was going to say is for my area, what I've noticed is the things that don't have to do with price that are the variables that are changing that. Like the people who come in and work for the $500, like you're saying, um, they're getting $500 worth of work and not the $800 worth of work. So maybe it's not like, maybe it's a building where everyone's like, we didn't like what we saw. Like, you need someone else. Like, this isn't okay. Because, money is one thing, but if the job's not getting done to their standards, then it doesn't do anyone good. It's just wasted money.
I wish that was the reason. I don't think it is in mine because I've been doing this for like 12 years, putting bids on these. So it's like it's been a long time. It hasn't mattered in the past,
Okay.
the quality, and that's typically with like corporate style buildings where the people who are accepting the bids really aren't in the building, they don't see the windows. They just know they have this box they have to check off. Windows done, check, and they're just looking at the numbers. Okay, here's a company that can do it for 800. Here's a company that can do it for 500. Let's pick them, and we've used them before. But again, so the only reason I can think of where they didn't care about quality before is now those low quality companies are not able to do it like they used to. So it could be a matter of either them having to raise their prices because of the supply issues and maybe the difficulty in finding employees. Or some of them have just gone out of business, or lost employees that now they can't handle the loads that they used to, and they're just unavailable now. There's this one property management company that started using. They've used us in the past, but very rarely. And now they had us do a bid on like 8 buildings. And he was just saying, he's like, yeah, we have companies that do this and this, but we're finding less and less who are willing to do bids anymore. They used to, I used to get 5 or 6 bids on every building. He's like, you're my second bid, and I've been trying to get other bids on it. So there's something happening, but I don't know. I haven't put my finger on it yet. I wish it was that they wanted good quality because then that puts us more in the even playing field. But I think I don't know. It's something else. I think. Yeah.
Well, aside from price too, I would say is like just the little stuff like companies not answering their phones. Like maybe they can't get it's not even just the pricing. Pricing's part of it, and like there's different repercussions based on people going out of business because they put in a quote that now they have so many of those quotes that they're not operating anymore, or maybe they've had to cut back, and maybe they don't have an automated phone answering machine or anyone in the office, and it's just guys out in the field and people are getting neglected, the billing's not going through properly, or maybe people find out insurance isn't there, or there's shortcuts that can be made too that people do that cause issues too. So it's between price, between not answering phones, actually communicating or handling business like a business should and being professional about it. There's a lot of different things that just people aren't. We get a lot of feedback from clients where they're like, we've been with the company for 10 years and they won't answer my calls. They won't return my emails. They won't and that's the kind of stuff that's just driving business away. So in a like a contractor world, it's on to the next, and they don't have time to dilly dally and wait for people. There's no, like you said, it's just a checklist. The window's done. Are their tenants happy? That it's been done, and move on. They're not can emotionally connected to whoever's doing it.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's very true. I think residential companies that focus on residential primarily have an advantage in that, because the residential clientele is more demanding on those things, right? If you don't return a call, they're gone. They're going to go somewhere else. You know, commercial side may be a little more lenient because they're used to dealing with vendors
Right.
from all sorts. But if you have the customer service, like you said, and you've got the office staff where you've just got good, you know, response time, regardless if it's phone call or email or whatever, people don't want to deal with headaches. So if you that's what I always tell my you know, potential clients. I'm like, hey, we're in the headache alleviation business. You're not gonna have to think about us. We're
Love
gonna
that.
make it as easy as it is to schedule, to pay us. If you have concerns, we're gonna get on it. You know, we want to make it this as easy an experience for you as possible. And that's a good selling point. If, you know, we can definitely offer that. But anyways, we're just about out of time, Jack. Can you tell us a little bit what are your goals that you got in the next 5 years? Say where you want your business to be.
Next 5 years. So right now we have 2 trucks right now. I'm just trying to fill those. We have two of us right now. Cody's our operations manager. I would like to get, 4 guys more to fill that, where we're to the point where we're ready to buy another truck. So I'd like to get 3 running on at all times. I'd like to gain that momentum where it's, our marketing and our hiring is clicking at the same pace. We're implementing systems right now where we just brought on a new review system that's providing a different platform for people to feel more comfortable with giving us feedback instead of just the traditional routes. I'm working now with restructuring our hiring process. Honestly, a lot of things are just kind of breaking down our systems and putting it on paper, recording it all. So we're working with a hiring agency that's providing like a platform where it's going to be, you apply for the job. It'll take you through a stage process. There's actually a video, one-way video interview. And like, you have to be creative, because the thing is if something's not working, you need to pivot.
Yeah.
And when it comes to that, with the hiring, you're right. It's different. It's not like it used to be. It's not like, you can throw an Indeed or a Craigslist ad out and you're going to have 100 resumes on your desk in 2 weeks. And you can just kind of pick and choose what you want. It doesn't work. And so things are changing. Technology changes all the time. So we have to adapt with it. And if what's we're doing now is not working, then like I said, we need to find a way that will work. So we need to find a way to get through to those people. And, we're doing, also job fairs and stuff, but just finding different ways to progress the team. And like I said, I want to scale this company. I want to be a dominant force in our market, and I want to provide the best client actual experience that we can. And so it's just a matter of getting there and taking it at a healthy pace so that we're building a strong foundation. And so with that said, it's, I think there's a lot of bright things in the future. It's just a matter of kind of putting our nose to the grindstone and getting it done, but also being efficient and not overly working ourselves and trying to have a healthy balance. Healthy life and work balance is tough, and burnout's a real thing, and it'll happen at any stage of the business, is what I've learned so far. So it's like, trying to reach our goals, but do it in a healthy manner, and just, treat people well, and good things will come around. So in the next 5 years, I have a lot of goals that I want to work towards. So yeah.
Nice. Well, I think you're in a great spot to achieve your goals. I really wish you the best and look forward to seeing how your business progresses in the future. So thanks so much for taking time to talk with us, Jack.
Yeah, hope we can talk again.
Yeah, we will soon. Hopefully I'll see you at a convention one time soon. We can meet in person.
Made it to the huge this year, and that was awesome.
Nice. I was so close to going, but I was, like I said, we got so busy and I was down employees. I had to work. I was so bummed. I had
I
a free
don't blame
ticket
you.
there too. But hopefully by next year I'll have everything worked out where I can make it. I do like the huge. Yeah.
If we have a warm January, we'll make the IWCA, but the plow
Nice.
trucks can be on the road otherwise. So like
That's-
you, until we grow a little bit, then
Yeah.
opportunity will come up. But Hey, looking forward to meeting you in person, and I appreciate the opportunity.
All right, well, thank you so much. And thank you, Flowmies, for listening. Hope you guys have a great weekend. You guys keep grinding out there. And as always, flow on.